Hi everybody, welcome to Tpull's Corner. This is Travis, and this is a Shrine deck. And we're going to do something a little bit different because most YouTubers, when they do a Shrine deck, they put together one video once, and they say it's an awesome deck, and then you never see it again. Or maybe in a year, you'll see them toss it out, one more time with some updated cards. And the thing is, the Shrine decks are really awesome, and I like to play with this one all the time. So this is a competitive deck. This is what I use for most of my ranked battles. And I don't show a lot of my ranked battles because we're a new channel, right? So mostly what I've been doing for like the entire first month was just showing mechanics and demonstrating to the new players, what Tranquil is, what Death Touch is, how you can use it, then slowly combining them and showing how you can add the mechanics and have them work with each other. And it's mostly been a tutorial for newer players. And those are like 40-minute to an hour-long videos, those kind of things. So what I'm going to do with the Shrine video is I'm going to record this intro, and this intro is going to be at the top of the playlist, basically. So anybody who wants to see an explanation of the deck can come here and see this particular video. And then I'll just have a playlist of videos of, just a single battle at a time as I go through the ranked battle list. And that way, because I don't want to just do one Shrine video and then you never see it again, okay? The real story is I probably play the Shrine deck once, twice, 3 times a day when I have time to go do the ranked battles. I have a full-time day job, so I don't necessarily even get my 15 wins per day to get the reward. So what I do basically is when I get home from work in my spare time, I'll go ahead and do the daily task. And then if I have time after that, I'll get my 15 wins. And then after that, I go into the ranked battles. So I don't have a lot of spare time for the ranked battles right now, but I squeeze one in every now and then. So I'm going to record those, and I'm just going to put them out one at a time. So there's only like, 5, 6, 10-minute kind of video for you to look at. But this intro will always be at the front of the playlist, so you can refer back to it if you need to. So with that, if you already know all about the shrines and don't care about the intro, just go on to the next video, which will be one of the first battles that I recorded, right? But for those of you who don't know what shrines are, don't know how they interlock with each other, so to speak, let's go ahead and go through this deck. There's only one creature in the deck, 25 lands, 18 enchantments, which shows you where the primary focus is. It's all 5 colors, which is why over here on the right you see the massive assortment of different lands that we use. Over on the left, going down from the 1-drops, we have the first legendary enchantment Shrine, Sanctum of Tranquil Light. You put it down for 1 white mana. And the way this one works is you spend 6 mana total, 5 and 1 white, to tap a target creature. And the ability costs less to activate for each shrine you control. So as soon as I put down the first shrine, that 6 turns into 5. Because the Sanctum of Tranquil Light's shrine counts as one of those shrines. Okay, so when you get all 6 shrines down, all you need to spend is 1 white mana per creature. Next we have Bloodchief's Thirst. Most of the way this shrine deck is constructed is just to have some removal to keep us surviving until we can get the shrines into place. Okay, so we also have Blazing Volley for all the 1/1s early on. We also have some kind of ramp associated throughout the deck so that we can get our mana right, because we have all 5 colors. We're not necessarily guaranteed to have the right color we'll need at the right time. So Traveler's Amulet helps us go get a specific color land. 2 Heartless Axe for removal. 1 Lithoform Blight. We can use this either on our opponent or on us. Usually I do end up using it on my opponent, especially if I get it early on, if they put down a dual land or something. Or sometimes it's just to remove the abilities of a Faceless Haven or a Crawling Barrens. And what this does is you enchant their land and you draw a card. Their land loses all land types. They can add regular colorless mana with it, or they can pay 1 life and add 1 mana of any color. The way I use it on myself is if I have 4 of the 5 colors and I have the final shrine ready in my hand to go and I need a 5th color, I'll go to find a duplicate land and I'll put it over it, and that'll give me, I'll pay the 1 life to get the 5th color that I need to cast the Sanctum of All. The second shrine, Sanctum of Stone Fangs, this is for the color black. There's one for each color, and then the final one, which is all 5 colors together. All of them are legendary enchantments. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. So let's just pretend that I've got the white shrine down already. Then I put down Stone Fangs. That's 2. So when it gets to be my turn before combat, my opponent's going to lose 2 life and I'm going to gain 3 life. Once I get the third shrine down, the opponent will lose 3 life at the beginning of my pre-combat main phase, and I'll gain 3 life. Okay, lose 3, gain 3, lose 4, gain 4, on and on. Cleansing Wildfire is the other thing that I use along with Lithoform Blight for land control. I've got maybe 3 or 4 decks that I use Lithoform Blight in. I've only seen maybe 2 other players that I've gone up against that have used this card, so it's not commonly used, I don't think. Cleansing Wildfire you might see more often, but you destroy target land. Its controller can search the library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle, and you get to draw a card. So if I play this on them, I get to draw the card, they get to go pick out another land. Again, this is good for land destruction for the things like the Faceless Havens if I don't have any other way to take care of them. It's also yet another way for me to correct my mana, so that if I have 2 mountains and I need a forest, I'll go destroy one of the mountains and go search my deck and bring out a forest. And that way I'll get to the 5 colors that I need. Path to the World Tree also goes and gets me a basic land card. Banishing Light removal, and I like Banishing Light because it's not just creatures. You can take care of enchantments that you don't like and stuff like that. Idyllic Tutor, I'm usually using this in one of 2 ways. I'm searching for one of my 6 legendary enchantments, or I'm looking for another enchantment that's basically creature control, because I'm in trouble. Midnight Clock, as often as not, it's to deal with a mill deck that I come up against, but you have a way of, in this deck, you can actually empty your hand pretty quickly. So this can really save your butt and reload your ammo right when you need it to. Inevitable Land, this is one of the ones that I end up going to look for with Idyllic Tutor a lot, either this one or Banishing Light. You enchant the creature at the beginning of your upkeep. Your opponent has to sacrifice a creature. Mythos of Nethroi, I like this to destroy non-land permanent. If it's just a creature, I'll spend the 3 mana, which would be 2 colorless or 2 any color and a black. If I get to have the right colors out, and say they put out, Kiarabes the Sea God, and I want to destroy the enchantment, I need 1 green, 1 white, and 1 black, and then I can destroy the enchantment because it's a non-land permanent instead of just a creature. 2 Suffocating Fumes to get rid of the 1/1s. 1 Pestilent Haze to get rid of the 2/2s. Or to get rid of a low-ranking planeswalker. This is good to kill Lolth, by the way, as soon as they bring that sucker out. Because usually people bring out Lolth and they create the 2 spiders right away. And this is a handy way to get rid of something like Lolth. Okay, here's the 3rd shrine, Sanctum of Shattered Heights. You spend a mana, you discard a land or shrine card, and Heights deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, where X is the number of shrines you control. So if we have the black and white shrines out already, this would be the 3rd one. Let's say that I have a spare shrine in my hand and I don't need it. I'll spend 1 mana, throw it in the discard pile, and I deal 3 damage to a troublesome creature or planeswalker. Valakut Awakening, this is the last card that I added to the deck. It can be a tapped land. I use it that way about half the time. But you can also use it kind of as an ace in the hole, because there are a couple of different ways to fill your hand with cards in this deck. One of them we already covered with Midnight Clock, right? So you could get 7 new cards. If you've got Valakut Awakening in there and you've got, say you've got 3 land cards and you've got all the lands you need, throw them at the bottom of your library, then draw 4 new cards, and maybe that'll be more useful to you. 1 Cultivate, so that you can, usually what happens is I'll get 1 green source out and 2 other colors, and this helps me get to the 5. So I don't need to litter my hand too much with multiple cultivates, because we've got other stuff like Traveler's Amulet and Path to the World Tree when I just need 1, or maybe in an emergency Lithoform Blight or Cleansing Wildfire. So there's these cards that have dual purpose that I can use against my enemy, or I can use to fix my mana. So I don't want to litter too much with ramp cards. But here's one of the few shrines that I have multiple copies of. The 4th shrine, Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you add X mana of any 1 color, where X is the number of shrines you control. So if we have the black and white and red shrines out, this would be the 4th shrine that we got out. We would add 4 mana of any color. And so the problem, the one problem that we can face sometimes is that you only get the one color, right? You can't choose multiple colors from this. But if you have 4 colors out, you have the 5th shrine, you need the 5th color, Sanctum will give that to you in spades. I have 3 copies of this because this is one that can sometimes get destroyed a lot. And this is really the thing that helps to fix your deck with the mana the most, and also helps you to get extra mana, which you are going to need. 2 copies of Felidor's Retreat. Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield, you get to create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token that you see pictured to the right. Or if you have enough of those, you can just put a +1 counter on each of them. If you do that, if you put the +1 counter on them, each of those creatures gains vigilance until end of turn, which is awesome. Since I only have one other creature in the deck, this is basically what I use to create my armies when I need to create some creatures on the battlefield. True Love's Kiss to get rid of my opponent's target artifact or enchantment. The 5th shrine, no, we're at to number 5, aren't we? Okay, blue is the last color, Sanctum of Calm Waters. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. If you do, discard a card. So if this is the only shrine that you have out on the battlefield, you're going to draw 1 card, and then whatever's in your deck, you have to discard a card, right? Or whatever's in your hand. So if you have 0 and you draw 1 card, you're just discarding that card. So it's usually not worth using on just when you have 1 of them out. You get 2 shrines out, suddenly you can draw 2, you have to get rid of 1. When, let's say we have all of the others out already for the previous 4, now you're drawing 5 cards and discarding 1. Nice little card draw thing. And imagine using that with Valakut Awakening now to get rid of the useless cards that you just drew and fill your hand with useful cards. Extinction Event to choose odd or even mana value and exile the creatures with mana value of that quality. 2 Revenge of Ravens. This sometimes wins me the entire game. Whenever a creature attacks you or planeswalker you control, that creature's controller loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes my opponent is smart enough to build up powerful enough creatures that this doesn't make an impact. Other times they've got an army of small creatures and they don't do the math and they attack me anyway and they lose more life than I do with their attacks. 1 planeswalker in the deck, Calyx Destiny's Hand, because he works so well with enchantments. His +1 is to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You reveal an enchantment card from among them and put that card into your hand. Everything else goes on the bottom of your library. He's just as valuable for his -3 exile target creature or enchantment you don't control until target enchantment you control leaves the battlefield. So this can be problematic sometimes because you need to already have one of your enchantments out on the battlefield, because when you exile your target creature enchantment that the opponent controls, it has to go under your existing enchantment. It's not too hard because sometimes it'll be like we have Lithoform Blight over on one of their Faceless Heavens, right? We can exile the creature and stick it under Lithoform Blight. We can stick it under any one of our shrines, that kind of thing. But his -3 is not going to work if you don't have your own enchantment out on the field already. And finally, his -7, I don't have a chance to use this that much. Return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, here's the mommy of all of them, Sanctum of all, Legendary Enchantment Shrine. Costs 5, 1 of each color. Okay, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard for a shrine card and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library in this way, you shuffle. Okay, there's a second part to this, okay, but let me go over the first part again. You can go into your library or your graveyard. You can't go into both at the same time, right? So it's going to pop up a selection and you get to choose which one you want to go into. If they have gotten rid of one of your shrines, it don't matter. You can go get it from your graveyard and stick it right back onto the battlefield the very next turn. So usually the shrine to get rid of, the one that they go after, is Sanctum of Stone Fangs, because this is the one that does all the life damage, right? This is usually our win con right here, and I only have 1 copy of it in the deck. But if they destroy it, I can just go get it back the very next turn. And because it's at the beginning of my upkeep, it immediately works, right? Because this doesn't take effect until the beginning of my pre-combat main phase, which is after upkeep. Okay, now this is some of the genius of the shrines that I want to reinforce and why they're so awesome to use. When you get Sanctum of all down, you can go look for another card, like Stonefangs, put it down on the battlefield immediately, and it works. In the meantime, if you have Sanctum of Calm Waters and Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, you order it so that you draw the cards first and you see what the new cards are and you understand what colored mana you're going to want to use, and then you draw the mana from the Fruitful Harvest. It's automatically set up that way. The others don't matter as much. Sanctum of Shattered Heights and Tranquil Light, that's affecting creatures, right, to deal damage or tap them. So you have to pay mana to do each of those. You do those whenever you want, whenever it's appropriate at instant speed. But these others, with Stone Fangs and Sanctum of All, Calm Waters, and Fruitful Harvest, the order is very important. Okay, now for the second part of Sanctum of All's powers. If an ability of another shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. So what this means is, say you've got Sanctum of All out and you've already got 4 other shrines out, and the last one you need to get is Stone Fangs. When you summon Stone Fangs, whether it was from your library or graveyard, doesn't matter, you put it onto the battlefield, you're going to get 6 life, or your opponent loses 6 life, right? But here's the kicker that everything's changed, is the second part of Sanctum of All's ability kicks in, it triggers an additional time. So the opponent's going to go through this twice. They're going to lose a total of 12 life, and you're going to gain a total of 12 life. So unless they've got a massive life gain deck, you're pretty much guaranteed to win in 2 turns if they can't do anything against you. All right? The same thing with Fruitful Harvest. You're going to be able to add 6 mana of a particular color. Then it's going to prompt you to add 6 mana, and you can choose a different color this time. So now you can choose 2 different colors and start with 12 mana before anything even happens. Before that, you're going to get offered to draw 6 cards and discard a card. As soon as you do that, you don't have to, right? Because you don't want to mill yourself. You can decline, but let's say you do it. You draw 6 cards, you get rid of a card, and say you didn't even have anything in your hand, so you got 5 cards now all of a sudden. You've nearly refilled your hand. It's going to trigger a second time because you got all 6 shrines on the battlefield. So you're going to get to draw 6 more and then discard another one. So you're going to go from 0 cards to 10 cards in 1 upkeep. It's beautiful when it happens. We're going to show it to you. Okay, the final 4 cards are Board Wipe, Realm-Cloaked Giant to destroy all non-giant creatures. Then we can bring our 1 creature, our 7/7 Vigilance creature, onto the battlefield. We have 1 copy of Kurobest, the Sea God, to give us an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token with hexproof. And then we tap everything they have the second turn. Third turn, regain control of one of their target permanents. We have Seagate Restoration, 1 copy of that. We never really want to use this as a regular land. Sometimes we absolutely have to, but mostly we don't. We keep it for the sorcery to draw cards equal to the number of cards in our hand plus 1, and then we have no maximum hand size. Then when we get Sanctum of Calm Waters down, we use it like it's just absolutely cool, and we don't worry about having too many cards for discard. We have Undo Inversion. Sometimes we use it as a land. Half the time we keep it as an emergency to destroy all non-land permanents. Even if we have all 6 shrines out, if we're about to lose, we'll play this card. We'll throw everything away, right? We'll clear the board. We've got another Sanctum of All coming up usually, and then we can go get everything back from our graveyard. Or we've got a Midnight Clock and we can recycle. There's a couple of different ways that we can still win, even if we destroy absolutely everything, as long as it keeps us alive. So we tend to try and keep a couple of these cards in reserve, right? Seagate Restoration and Undo Inversion specifically, until we really, really have to use them. And the rest is all the lands. So that's how the deck is set up. That's how it works. Hopefully I've explained it correctly for you. If there's anything confusing, go ahead and leave me a question in the comments, and I'll go ahead and answer them there. And the rest of this, I'm going to end this, and this will always be at the front of the playlist for this series. And then all the rest, we're just going to show you the battles and how it goes, and we're going to show you how these pieces all combine. It's going to be awesome. One other comment I should make about these shrines, well, I'll make 2 more comments. One is that there are other shrines. If you go into Historic, I think there's 5 or 6 other previous shrine cards. They weren't all designed to interlink and operate necessarily the way these were, I don't think, but they count. So you could go get those if you were playing a Historic Shrine deck. You could go get those with Sanctum of All as well. And they would count towards the total of 6 or more shrines here to trigger that ability in additional time. And those all have different capabilities than these. So that's kind of cool. I think I've got a nice Historic Shrine deck that has all of them together. And it didn't work too well when I tried to keep it to a small number of cards, but in a 100-card deck, it seems to work pretty well. Okay, the other thing I'll say is that These shrines are so good as a system in and of themselves that some of these other cards are kind of interchangeable with a lot of others. So let's say that we get to use them again in a future rotation and we don't have access to a lot of these others. Doesn't necessarily matter, right? We've got the 6 shrines themselves as a shell. That's the core of your deck. That's really all that you need. Everything else is details, right? Heartless Act is just a removal card. Bloodchief's Thirst is a type of removal card. Traveler's Amulet is a type of ramp card, basically. All you need is to replace with the modern analogs of removal and ramp and put it around the shrine shell, and you still got an awesome deck. So the key is the shrine cards themselves, and everything else is kind of details. You could put some other stuff in here and it might work just as well. Alright, that's the deck. Let me know if you like it. If you do like it, click the like button. If you want to keep track of what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. And above all, go share this with a friend and get them hooked if they're not already hooked on Magic the Gathering. Alright, here we go.